I want to welcome everyone to our 25th, that's right, 25th. We're a quarter of a century old. Annual Memorial Day ceremony. At this time, I'd ask you to please stand for the presentation of colors. Remain standing for the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. Bagpiper Scott McAlilly. Mr. Massey McKinley.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
The Pledge of Allegiance today is going to be led by Eagle Scout Mr. Reese Hanna from Troop 431. In addition to an Eagle Scout, young Mr. Hanna has been awarded the Medal of Merit and the National Certificate of Merit. Mr. Reese.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job, buddy. The Good Reverend Chuck Savage.
Please be seated. Like me, I'm sure that many of you lifted a word of prayer when you heard the rumbling this morning. I prayed for sun, and God has showed up, so I think we ought to give God a hand clap of praise. Let us pray. Almighty and gracious God, we gather today acknowledging that we are all your children. Each of us have been created in your image. We're grateful that you have endowed each of us with the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And as we gather today, we gather to remember those valiant servicemen and women who gave their lives that we might continue to be beneficiaries of that endowment. Today, we remember all of the Gold Star families. We remember William Rivers, Kennedy Sanders, and Breonna Moffett, native Georgians who were recently killed in Georgia. We remember those who rest in the church and family cemeteries across our nation. We remember those who rest in the national cemeteries like Marietta and Canton and Arlington. And let us never forget those who rest in the cemeteries like Cambridge and Normandy, those whose bodies have never come home, those who rest in the 24 other national cemeteries that are outside of the United States. And though their bodies rest, Lord, the spirits of all these are alive and well as they speak to us from their graves. Don't ever forget that we loved each of you enough that we gave our lives that you might live each day in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Remember that not only today, but each and every day, Lord, we remember these and we say thank you. We would be remiss if we didn't offer a prayer for those who have served and those who serve today. And God, we ask that you would build a hedge around all these still on active duty. Keep and protect them from all harm. All of these things we ask in your name. And all of God's children said, amen.
Thank you, Reverend Savage, and because of the weather, that could deserve a second amen. We've got welcoming remarks today from Mayor Pro Tem William Orthman.
Good afternoon. Before we get started today, I would like to give a special round of applause to David and all the Rotary volunteers that absolutely turned this morning on its head with all the bad weather that was taking place. For us to be so close to the start time of where we find ourselves today is simply remarkable. So thank you very much. Please join me in a moment of silence as we reflect on the great sacrifices made by those we honor this Memorial Day. Thank you. On behalf of the City of Roswell, it is my great privilege to welcome you all here today to the annual Roswell Remembrance Memorial Day ceremony. I'm Mayor Pro Tem William Orthland, and I'm honored to represent the City Council and Mayor Kurt Wilson, who's unable to be with us today, but sends his regards and respect to all those gathered here. Members of the council here today are my friends, Lee Hills, Sarah Beeson, Christine Hall, David Johnson, and Alan Sells. We extend a special welcome to the esteemed veterans in attendance, their loved ones, their families, and their friends to pay tribute to members of the armed forces who gave their lives in service to our country. Roswell has been proud to partner with the Roswell Rotary Club to host this remarkable event right here at City Hall. On the grounds, near the cherished Blue Star and Gold Star Memorial, World War II Memorial, and the Faces of War Memorial. Not only is it an enduring symbol of profound courage and commitment of all who have upheld our freedoms, but it is also a reminder to us of our responsibility to carry on their legacy of service. From its humble beginnings in 1997, this Roswell Remembers ceremony has blossomed into one of the largest Memorial Day events in the state of Georgia, attracting thousands of grateful citizens over the years. The respect we give to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our country speaks to the value we place on their service. when their stories are shared in our homes, our neighborhoods, and our schools. In gatherings like this, the men and women we honor become part of the collective identity of our community. They continue to live on through us. May we always remember their selfless dedication and being mindful and grateful for all they have secured on our behalf. Again, from the Roswell Mayor, City Council, and the city's employees, a very sincere thank you for your attendance here today. May we all keep today's message of gratitude and respect close to the heart as we ensure our younger and future generations understand the magnitude of today's remembrance. Thank you very much.
The memorial Faces of War, directly behind us, is a gift to the city of Roswell, given in honor of all who honorably served their country during the Vietnam War and the families who supported them, the living and the dead, the wounded, the missing, and those held captive in mind, body, and soul. Those who served during the Vietnam War represented the best traditions of our country. Let this memorial serve as a reminder of the love, sacrifice, and dedication to the duty of those who served, dedicated this day on Memorial Day, May the 30th, 1995, by Roswell Vietnam War Memorial Committee in the city of Roswell, Georgia. At this time, the laying of the wreath ceremony today, we are honored to have Mary Beth Carney, who is the surviving spouse of James Moby Carney, our beloved MC of our Roswell Remembers Memorial Day ceremony, for a consecutive 24 years. Moby was born in Crossville, Tennessee, and attended Cumberland County High, where he first showed a love for music, playing the saxophone. James used to love to hang out at Cumberland Mountain State Park, where he would assist the lifeguards who gave him the nickname Moby. Moby started his first radio job at WCSV in Crossville, playing gospel on Sundays. Upon graduation, he attended Belmont College, majoring in music education. A year and a half later, he decided he would rather be in radio, and so began the legend. In 1973, Moby could be found in Nashville playing big band music at WAMB, and in 1978 moved to Rock 106 WKQB. In 1981, Moby moved to Tampa Bay's 98 Rock WQXR evening show. Later in 81, was hired to do afternoons, 97 Rock KSRR. In 1986, Moby moved to Dallas for KEGL, receiving national attention, where he was on the Oprah and Nightline with Ted Koppel shows. From 1993 to 1998, ABC WKHX Kicks Radio. Moby was syndicated as a morning show in 38 markets and a staple in our mornings in the Atlanta metro area market. Moby was famous for the catchphrases, "Morning Peaches," "Get your lazy asses out of bed," and of course the standby, "Yeah, baby." Moby supported numerous charities and was known for his huge support for our military forces and numerous police and sheriff agencies. His awards include Billboard's Major Market DJ of the Year 5 times, AMC Major Market DJ of the Year 1999. Moby was inducted into the Georgia Hall of Fame in 2011, Country Radio Hall of Fame in 2012, and Texas Radio Hall of Fame in 2022. In 2001, Moby married his forever sweetheart, Mary Beth, a resident of Roswell for 25 years, and raised their children, Jonah and Grace, both Roswell High graduates. Moby will be remembered for living big, loving big, giving to others, for laughing and celebrating life every day. Yeah, baby. I want to acknowledge a POW MIA tribute at the left side of the memorial. I will ask for all POWs in attendance, please stand as you are able. Any family members of an MIA or POW, please stand as you are able and be recognized. The MIA POW tribute at the left of the memorial, please let us never forget their sacrifice. Thank you for your service. Good afternoon. My name is David Young, chairman of the Roswell Remembers Memorial Day Committee. I'm also trying to fill some obviously very big shoes of Mr. Moby, who emceed our ceremony for 24 of our now 25 years. Let our 25th annual Memorial Day ceremony honor the big guy, yeah, baby. On behalf of the Roswell Rotary Club, I want to thank the City of Roswell, our partner, the Roswell Recreation and Parks Department, the Roswell Public Safety, Roswell Public Works, and Visit Roswell. We could not do our ceremony without their partnership, and certainly wouldn't have gotten it done today without their partnership. Please thank them. You know, we collectively today are enjoying the freedom given us by those who gave the ultimate sacrifice to be anywhere in the free world. And we have chosen to be here today, remembering and honoring those and their families who made that sacrifice. Never forget that. One of the favorite parts of the ceremony for me is the introduction of our military service representatives of each military branch's hymn is played. I would like you to please stand as you are able when your respective hymn is played as an attendee. Representing the U.S. Army, Sergeant Major E. Joseph Sanders, retired. The United States Navy, today represented by Petty Officer 2, Michael Caprue, Navy recruiter. Representing the United States Marine Corps, Sergeant Wesley Lowe, Marine recruiter. Representing the United States Coast Guard, Petty Officer, First Class, Nick Evans, Coast Guard recruiter. Representing the United States Air Force, Colonel Bo Shelton, United States Air Force, Dobbins Air Force Base, Georgia. Thanks to all of our military reps today. We have special remarks today by Dr. Tom Price, who will follow up with introduction of our keynote speaker. Dr. Price has served our community as an orthopedic for 40 years. As an orthopedic surgeon starting in 1984, he actively saw patients until 2004. Dr. Price entered public service in 1996, being elected to the Georgia Senate, serving 4 terms until 2004. It was then Dr. Price was elected to the United States House of Representatives, being re-elected every 2 years through 2016, when in 2017, Tom Price was confirmed as the 23rd U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. Today, he continues working as a health care consultant, assisting the care of patients and those caring for them. Tom became a member of the Roswell Rotary Club in 1985 and served as its president in 1997-98, and was the inspiration behind our One Great Day of Remembrance today. He and his wife Betty have lived in Roswell since 1984. Please welcome the architect of Roswell Remembers, Dr. Tom Price.
Thank you so much. Thank you, David. Okay, be honest. Did anybody really think we'd have to worry about the sun today? Thank you, Chuck, for bringing the sun. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous day. Happy Memorial Day to you. David asked me to say a few words about how all of this began, and as he mentioned, I joined Rotary in 1985 and was its president in 1997 and 98. And one of the responsibilities, what I considered a joy of the Rotary Club, being its president, was that you get the opportunity to identify a project that you want the club to embrace during your year. And as a kid, I always loved parades. My mom, I was one of 5 kids, and my mom, if there was a parade within 50 miles, we were going. And so I thought, why don't we just have a Roswell Memorial Day parade? And we went about trying to figure out how to do that, and the logistics were just a little too challenging. And as David mentioned, the Faces of War Memorial, the Vietnam War Memorial at the foot here, was opened in 1995, and they had a beautiful ceremony at that time. And Betty said, why don't you just have a Memorial Day program at the Faces of War Memorial? And so we did, and it actually faced this direction as opposed to the direction that we're currently facing. We got the Roswell East Club. There were 2 Rotary Clubs in Roswell at that time, Roswell East and the Rotary Club of Roswell, and we got the Roswell East Club to help us and to participate in the organization and planning for it. The city was extremely cooperative at that time and really was remarkably helpful in making it happen, as they continue to do. I wanted to do 2 main things. One was to bring the community together for a remembrance program on Memorial Day, so incredibly important. But maybe as important was to provide an opportunity for kids and for young people to gain an appreciation for the sacrifices that are necessary to keep our nation and to keep our freedom. You probably would believe the number of parents, some of you right here today, who have come up and thanked me and the other members who put this on for having a ceremony like this so that they can bring their children and have their children recognize and at least appreciate the sacrifices that have been made. We had a great committee. Some of the individuals from the Faces of War Memorial Committee that had just closed down 2 years earlier were on that. Marshall Lichtenstein was one that I remember well who gave so much. Scott Cuthbert, who was a member from the Roswell East Club, he was a veteran, and he took this by storm, and he said, you got to do two things to make sure you're successful. One is to have a flyover, and the other is to make certain that you play taps at the end. And I said, well, taps is pretty doggone easy. The flyover was a little more challenging, but we did have a flyover that year, and we've had a flyover a number of years since then. And then Buffy and David Schaefer were two great folks. They somehow gained a collection of Army machines. They had a tank, they had artillery, they had jeeps, and they would park it over here, and the kids found it remarkably wonderful to just climb all over them. So I thought that was pretty special. But the community just embraced it, and folks have come out year after year just as you have. But none of it would have happened without the Rotary Club, yes, but without you, without the community who has embraced this in such a way. And so thank you all for all that you have done to make this an annual event in our community. You know, preserving freedom is not easy. Sometimes we think that the sacrifices that our nation has made have just been from way back then, you know, from Vietnam or World War II or even before then. But you and I both know that there are men and women who stand on the front lines every single day to protect our liberty and protect our freedom. And 3 individuals, Georgians, as Reverend Savage mentioned, were killed this year by a drone strike in Jordan. Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Kennedy Sanders, and Specialist Brianna Moffett. 3 Georgians lost just this year defending freedom for you and for me. When I was a kid, we used to sing this song called Freedom Isn't Free, and the chorus went something like, freedom isn't free, freedom isn't free. You've got to pay a price, you've got to sacrifice for your liberty. And how true that is. And Memorial Day plays a special role in all of that. It's a day to pause and to reflect and to remember those who gave what Lincoln called the last full measure of devotion in our nation's defense. And it's a unique day. July 4th is our birthday. It's the day that the Declaration of Independence was signed. We get all happy, blow off fireworks, have a wonderful time, have picnics. Veterans Day is a day to remember every single individual who ever wore a military uniform in defense of our country. But Memorial Day is a day to remember and to thank those who died in the service of our nation. So it's a bittersweet and a somber day, yes, but it is so incredibly important that we do this. Thomas Paine once wrote, "Those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must undergo the fatigue of supporting it." And General Patton said, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn those who have died. Rather, we should thank God that such individuals lived." Now, when we started this, we had no idea where it would lead, how many years we would do it. We knew we'd do it at least one. We had no idea how long it would last. But thanks to you and to Rotary and our community, it has become a lasting and a moving tribute. So I'm so very, very thankful to all that you all have done to continue to appropriately recognize Memorial Day and its importance to our community and our great nation. Thank you so much. God bless America. I now have the honor of introducing our guest speaker today, our keynote speaker today, Richard Herschel White, Colonel, United States Army, retired. Colonel Rick White, a native of Norcross, Georgia, enlisted in the United States Army Airborne Infantry as a private in 1966. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant through Infantry Officer Candidate School in 1967 at the age of 19, and he soon deployed to Vietnam for a total of 24 months in combat, serving as a rifle platoon leader and reconnaissance platoon leader in the 4th Infantry Division, and as an airborne infantry commander in the 173rd Airborne Brigade. His numerous awards and decorations include the Bronze Star Medal for Valor, Combat Infantry Badge, Senior Aviator Wings, Ranger Tab, Special Forces Tab, and master parachutist wings. He has degrees from Harvard University, for which we will forgive him, Webster University, University of Maryland, and the Army War College. During 31 years of service, Colonel White commanded 2 brigades, 2 battalions, 6 companies, and 3 platoons encompassing infantry, special forces, aviation, and recruiting. In 1997, he retired from active duty and was later inducted into the OCS Hall of Fame located at Fort Benning. Rick is the deacon at Clear Springs Baptist Church and has served on the board of directors for the Spears Foundation, which is for college scholarships, and the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame from the inception of both organizations. Currently, he is the director and chairman of the board of the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame and the honorary colonel of the 35th Infantry Regiment. Rick is married to Pamela of Pasadena, California. They have twin daughters, a son, 2 sons-in-law, a daughter-in-law, and 4 grandsons. Rick and Pamela make their home in Johns Creek, Georgia. Please join me in welcoming Colonel Rick White.
As I check my watch, I can say good morning. Good morning. Dr. Price, Mayor Pro Tem Morton, Ceremony Chairman Dave Young, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow veterans, and other service members. It is my distinct honor to have been asked to be the Memorial Day speaker today. Before I go any further, I want to thank the City of Roswell and all that were responsible for those years ago for establishing that memorial that I'm looking at right there, the Faces of War Memorial. Having served, as was said, in combat for 24 months, anything like that for honoring our Vietnam veterans, I sincerely appreciate. Many times speakers speak without looking at notes. I'm not that guy. Seriously, whenever I'm asked to speak, and I do a lot of speaking because of the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame, a lot of speaking across the state. First of all, I do a lot of praying about it to make sure that I say the appropriate things, because I don't want this to ever come across, especially a day like Memorial Day, other than serious. Therefore, I will read my remarks. Memorial Day is the day set aside to pay sincere respect to those that have literally given their very all for our precious freedom. As everyone can see, I'm wearing my United States Army dress uniform, and I always point out when I have the privilege of putting on this uniform, I do not wear it for me, but as a visual display and sign of respect for all those living, deceased, and killed in action that have also worn the cloth of our nation. These are our defenders of freedom. Today, 27 May 2024, will mark 158 years that we as a nation have set aside a time and a day to reverently thank and solemnly thank those that have given their all for the rare and wonderful blessing of that wonderful word called freedom that we all as Americans enjoy each and every day. Perhaps you've heard the phrase, all gave some gave all. Today we are here to honor the ones that gave all. And in the words of Abraham Lincoln, in that wonderful portion of the Gettysburg Address, quote, gave their last full measure of devotion. Beginning 249 years ago, during the founding and struggling days of our nation in 1775, and until the 15th day of this month, May 2024, almost 2 million servicemen and women have been wounded in battle, while exactly 1,304,706 have actually given their last full measure of devotion toward the preservation of one important and sacred word, and again, that word is freedom. Because freedom is never free, and it will never be free, there will always be a Memorial Day. These over 1,300,000 men and women that I just mentioned paid the ultimate sacrifice, and not only them, but the same number resulted in Gold Star families. These are families that have lost a loved one in the defense of freedom. To these mothers, fathers, wives, husbands, sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, and other family members, every day is Memorial Day. We are blessed as American citizens, and we owe a special and humble gratitude to these Gold Star families. Today, Memorial Day, is a day to honor and pray for these grieving families left behind, our Gold Star families. At this time, if there are any Gold Star family members present, I humbly ask you to stand if you are able, or raise your hand and be recognized as we all extend our sincere acknowledgement for the great loss and sacrifice your family has paid in the sacred name of freedom. Thank you, Gold Star families, and today and every day we grieve for you and thank you. 21 years ago, on 26 June 2003, near Baghdad, Iraq, my dear wife Pamela and I came so close to also being a Gold Star mother and father. On that day, 2 Army Rangers were killed by an improvised explosive device, and one other Ranger was given just 12 hours to live. God answered hundreds of immediate prayers and spared the life of our precious son, now United States Army Colonel Graham White. As you might imagine, Memorial Day is very personally meaningful to Pamela and I in so many ways. Because freedom is never free, Colonel Graham White is currently commanding an infantry brigade of over 3,000 soldiers in the 25th Infantry Division located in Hawaii, and keenly focused on the protection of our country and our allies in the Far East as we all anxiously watch the concerning actions of the godless leaders of a saber-rattling China and North Korea. In my current role as the director of the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame, I have the humble privilege and honor to speak to various audiences across our great state. And never do I give these talks with quoting 2 Bible verses. Those verses, one from the Old Testament and one from the New Testament, Isaiah 6:8 and John 15:13. To me, these 2 verses, in very clear words, define what is asked of our defenders of freedom. In Isaiah 6:8, 2 questions are asked, followed by an immediate resounding answer. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Followed by, here am I, send me. The send me response speaks directly to the raised hand of a service member when taking the serious oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know of another country that pays homage in swearing to a piece of paper, not to a human being, not to a president, not to a king, not to a queen, but to a piece of paper that guarantees our freedom, the Constitution of the United States. Likewise, John 15:13, a verse many of you know, says what these young men and women are willing to do for all of us and for freedom. Greater love hath no man than this, than to lay down his life for a friend. Who are these people that have given their all so that you and I can continue to breathe the wonderful, fresh, clean air of America's freedom? They're American men and women from every walk of life, from every part of our great land. They raised their right hand, they took a sacred oath, and served in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, and the Coast Guard. And we thank them for their sacred service and their stoic sacrifice. Without these selfless servicemen and women living today and those that have previously sacrificed their all, none of the freedoms listed in our Constitution and that we are too so often take for granted would be or could be realized. On Memorial Day, the specific hour that is devoted to the memory and honor of those 1 million plus that have given their all for you and me is at 3 p.m. today. Today at 3 p.m., I would graciously ask all of us to stop whatever you're doing and at that time spend a moment of silence in prayer of gratitude for those that have allowed us to live free and especially the families left behind. However, let us not wait for the last Monday each May to recognize and remember, but let us do as we do, think of our freedoms and those that have sacrificed all of their tomorrows so that we and our precious children can live in freedom today. Many of us perhaps struggle with what to say on Memorial Day. Ladies and gentlemen, it just doesn't seem right to, and I'm not being silly here, to say Happy Memorial Day. That is the only holiday in America that we honor our dead, those that sacrifice. Allow me to suggest in a greeting on Memorial Day, have a blessed Memorial Day. And if you're addressing a veteran or a service member, thank you for your service and sacrifice. Those words are always appreciated. As a young soldier in many battlefields long ago and in a faraway place, I experienced firsthand the bravery and selflessness of other young American soldiers as they set about to do their duty as God gave them the light to do that duty. Some of those soldiers, my brothers and my friends, did not live to see the land of their birth or to hug and kiss their wives and children or their mothers or their fathers. Some of the last living eyes that they looked into or the last human touch that they felt was mine. I have wondered and pondered for well over 56 years, why them and not me? Memorial Day is a very personal day for me, and I am sure for anyone that has lost a family member or friend in combat. When I think of those men close to me that were killed in action or died in captivity as prisoners of war, so many names come to mind. I will read some of these names, and you will probably not recognize any of the names. These names are men from all over the United States, killed in a very short period of time, and they were my brothers. I will also read some names of some recent conflicts that were men with my son. Sacredly, I say these names and pray for their loved ones. Dennis Jacobs, Richard Bowers, Clyde Moore, Bill Bray, Bob Lazaro, Howard Coles, Bob Gallagher, Omar Jones, Harold Martin, Bill Ordway, Bill Phillips, Pete Zanka, Bill Zimmerman, and also the Army Rangers that were with my son in Iraq and Afghanistan. Russ Ripito, Tim Conaway, Andrew Chris. Again, all gave some, but these and so many more gave all. Earlier in my talk, I mentioned my work and role with the Georgia Military Veterans Hall of Fame. Perhaps today, as you came through and got a program, you may have received a pamphlet about the Hall of Fame. Each November, which is Veterans Month, the Hall of Fame inducts 15 living or deceased or killed in action veterans into this rare and noble Hall of Fame for our great state. By the way, the Hall of Fame is located in our state capital. One of those inducted last November, please bear listen to this part. This is a wonderful story, in my opinion. One of those inducted last November for valor was a soldier from Fitzgerald, Georgia, United States Army Private First Class Luther Elwood Bagley, nicknamed Buck. During World War II, PFC Bagley was a 22-year-old infantry rifleman with the famed Merrill's Marauders that fought in the steamy and disease-ridden jungles of Burma in Southeast Asia. On the 25th of July, 1944, during an intense and chaotic war battle, resulting in many U.S. casualties, Buck Bagley became missing in action and later determined to be killed in action. For the past 79 Memorial Days, Buck's widow, now 99 years old, Eleanor, has been grieving for her husband and her lifelong sweetheart, her dear Buck. Several years after the war, many unidentified remains were located in Burma and then honorably buried in the National Cemetery in Hawaii. Many decades later, and because of our blessed DNA, last month, on the 26th day of April, 2024, PFC Buck Bagley's remains were positively identified. A few days later, now soon to be 100-year-old Eleanor was notified that her dear Buck would finally be coming home to Georgia this summer for a well-deserved full military honors funeral. Upon hearing of this unbelievable news and sharing it with my dear sweet wife, Pamela, of almost 50 years, ladies and gentlemen, she's a brave woman. Pamela said, and I quote, "Eleanor never stopped praying for the return of her dear Buck. She never gave up. Our men and our women in uniform are dedicated to, quote, never leaving a warrior behind. And as we as citizens, we should never give up on America." A close veteran friend of mine, Tommy Clack. Tommy lives near us here in Alpharetta and is an inspiration and a blessing to anyone he meets. During an intense battle in Vietnam in April 1969, Tommy Clack was severely wounded, losing both legs at the hips and his right arm at the shoulder. Tommy is a triple amputee. Tommy is the most positive man I know. Tommy closes each correspondence, email, letter, any kind of correspondence with these words, quote, "There's only two defining forces that have ever offered to die for you and me: Jesus Christ and the American soldier. One died for your soul, the other died for your freedom." In closing, let us resolve to never forget the unimaginable sacrifices and the ultimate price that these precious defenders of freedom and their loved ones have paid. God bless you. God bless all that have given their very lives and their blood for our blessed freedom. God bless all that currently stand in the gap for our nation, and may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel White, for those inspirational remarks. As a matter of fact, Tommy Clack was a guest speaker for us one year as a triple amputee, and when asked if he would serve again, you know what his answer was. Absolutely. At this special time, we have a special music. Once again, Massey McKinley.
If tomorrow all the things were gone I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. To be an American where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died who gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, 'cause I'm proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died who gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. 'Cause I'm proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died who gave that right to me, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Massey McKinley, great job.
Before I offer benediction, several things I'd like to call to your attention. You'll see some people around the grounds with shirts on like the one that I have on, or badges, and we do accept donations. There are also some helmets that may be turned upside down like the one over there, and you can put your donations in there. There are also, following the ceremony, barbecue on the grounds and music, and that'll be available for you. So with that, did I get everything said, David? Thank you. Once again, I want to thank God for showing up today, so let's give him one more hand. And Colonel, thank you for your inspiring words. So if you'd please stand. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord be gracious unto you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you, and may the Lord give you his peace. And I say, go now in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. And all of God's children said, Amen. God bless you and keep you, and go in peace.